Ginny wrote it. Good evening. Today is Thursday, February 20th, 2025. I'd like to call this meeting of the Auburn City Council to order. Mr. Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilor Clarko is excused this evening. Councilor Kent?
Here.
Councilor Overstreet Wilson?
Here.
Councilor Cuddy?
Here.
Mayor Genatino.
Here. Please stand and join us in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Please remain standing for a moment of silent prayer or reflection. Thank you. Please be seated. Public announcements.
Real quick tonight, Mayor, the next zoning board meeting for the city of Auburn will be held on Monday night, February 24th at 7 p.m. Meeting will be held here at Council Chambers, Memorial City Hall, 24 South Street.
Very good. Thank you. Move on to public to be heard.
At this point in time, we will open the public to be heard portion of the council meeting. Residents are asked to state their name and address for the record. Please keep remarks to 3 minutes or less. Please observe commonly accepted rules of courtesy and decorum.
Thank you. Is there anybody wishing to be heard this evening? Yes, ma'am. Either podium.
My name is Pamela Cusick. I live at 120 Chapman Avenue. So I had a question in regards to 13C that's on the docket tonight for the grant resolution from Cuyahoga County for the 70-unit concept. And the question was when this was going to be brought up to the residents that are over on Dunning Avenue, if it was just going to be squeaked in to all the residents over there, that this was going to be asked for something else to be put in over there, or if it was going to actually be asked of the residents over there if they would like another 70-unit building to be put in our neighborhood over there, or if it was just going to happen because I see that you guys are going to vote on it tonight, and so it was just a question to be posed to you guys. That things seem like they just keep getting put on the doctrine before anything gets brought up to the public. But that's a question for you guys. Thank you.
Anybody else wishing to be heard this evening? Close the public to be heard. Move on to the city manager's report.
Thank you, Mayor. Just our regular weekly update on the Hoops Park restoration project. We hit a couple of snags this week with the cold and inclement weather, but that project is still moving ahead. It's just been a little bit difficult with getting a more traditional winter than we've been used to the last couple of years. Our DPW crews have been very busy keeping up with persistent snowfall. We are very aware of the toll that the winter's taken on our roads. Our crews are doing the best they can to prioritize potholes. Most of that work's going to have to wait till the weather improves a little bit, and even so, most of those repairs are going to be less than exemplary until we get significant weather improvement. I have one other thing, Mayor and councilors, looking at the budget calendar that was adopted by council several weeks ago for the 25-26 budget. Our comptroller would like to make one change in that, and I believe that we'll have to come back to council with a resolution to change that because it was done by resolution. But that change is related to the preliminary budget presentation to City Council, originally scheduled for April 10th. We'd like to reschedule that to April 24th. And you don't have to necessarily give me direction on that right at the moment. If you could, that's great. If you can't, that's fine. And when get that direction, then we can make the appropriate changes and bring it before council for an official vote.
Yeah, I mean, from where I'm sitting, as long as it doesn't complicate the budget process and it gives everybody time to give detailed budget presentations, as we did last year, I'm fine with it, but I think that we should wait till we have a full council.
Okay, and we can send that
Yeah.
out via an email to everyone as well.
Okay.
Okay, we'll do that. We'll follow up with that.
Very good.
Thank you.
Any questions for Mr. Duggar? I did make a mistake, and I jumped over the approval of the February 13th meeting minutes. Can we have a sponsor, please? Counselor Kent, seconded by Counselor Overstreet Wilson. Any questions or discussion? Please call the roll.
Counselor Kent,
Yes.
Counselor Overstreet Wilson,
Yes.
Counselor Cuddy,
Yes.
Mayor Genatino.
Aye.
Carried.
Reports from members of council.
I just have one.
Yes, go ahead.
The end of last week, the Auburn chapter of the Human Rights Commission attended a training via email with the state chapter of the Human Rights Commission. So the chair, Reverend Wilson, will be putting together a small report. It wasn't that long, just to let the city know what was discussed.
Very good, thank you. Anyone else? All right. Council Resolution Number 17 of 2025, amending the City of Auburn 2025 procurement and surplus policy. Do we have a sponsor? Counselor Overstreet Wilson, seconded by Counselor Cuddy.
Council Resolution 17 of 2025, where City of Auburn maintains a procurement and surplus policy which regulates competitive bidding and public service contracts so that taxpayers may receive goods and services at lowest reasonable price. And whereas the City Comptroller's Office is recommending to amend the 2025 procurement and surplus policy to include a working policy regarding public works change orders. And whereas the New York State Office of State Comptroller defines a change order as an additional work order authorizing a contractor to add or delete work because of unanticipated field conditions or changes in design or project specification. And whereas City Comptroller has reviewed the proposed amendment to the 2025 City of Auburn procurement and surplus policy and has determined that it is compliant with the provisions of the New York General Municipal Law. Now therefore be it resolved, the City Council of the City of Auburn does hereby adopt a change order policy to establish a transparent and standardized process for managing modifications to public works contracts, ensuring that changes are compliant with New York State General Municipal Law and with procedures outlined within the policy.
Very good. Ms. Leeson is here this evening if anybody has any questions. Do you have anything you want to add, Ms. Leeson?
Thank you, Mayor and Council. Just as a follow-up to this, we've met with our auditors. They, as you know, they recommended that we update some of our policies. As we went through this process, we also consulted with New York State Office of the State Comptroller, with Corporation Counsel, just to make sure that we have some parameters for change orders that are in alliance with what the State Comptroller's Office is looking for. It really just makes sure that we're open to fair and competitive bidding. So,
Very good, thank you.
thank you.
Any questions? Please call the roll.
Counselor Kent,
Yes.
Counselor Overstreet Wilson,
Yes.
Counselor Cuddy,
Yes.
Mayor Genatino.
Aye.
Carried.
Financial Resolution Number 18 of 2025, authorizing various operating budget transfers for fiscal year 2024-2025. Do we have a sponsor? Counselor Overstreet Wilson, seconded by Counselor Kent.
Financial Resolution 18 of 2025, whereas the City of Auburn staff is requesting various operating, non-operating budget transfers for the 2024-25 fiscal year, and whereas fund balance is being requested to cover shortfalls, now therefore be it resolved by the City Council of the City of Auburn that the Auburn City Council does hereby authorize the transfers in the attachment A for the 2024-25 fiscal year, and the resolution will take effect immediately.
Very good, thank you. Can we just get a little background on the overtime budget transfer?
As far as the overtime goes, and both chiefs are here, but we've had significant emergencies in the community. House fires have been up, and that has caused an increase in overtime. I think we tried during the budget process to be conservative, right? So we're trying not to budget overtime unnecessarily and tax people unnecessarily. Unfortunately, our community's had some pretty tough situations of late, and I think the same thing. So police, we did transfer some overtime money from the salaries line to overtime because, as you remember, there were vacant positions. I think that some of those positions are going to get filled during the remainder of this fiscal year as candidates become available, and so we couldn't transfer quite as much as we had hoped.
Okay. Very good, thank you. Any additional questions? Chief Fritz, you sent us a pretty detailed explanation explaining the overtime related to the structure fires. Can you recap that for the public as well, please?
Good evening, Mayor and councilors. Yes, I sent council an email this afternoon just trying to give a slightly more detailed description of why this occurred. Like Marie Beth said, we try to be conservative when we do these budget lines, especially for emergency overtime. We look back a couple years back, try to see how much we spent, and then we try to cut a little more and hope for the best. There was $30,000 in that line for this fiscal year. On average, it cost just under $3,000 for a greater alarm fire and overtime expenses. That brings in about 18 people off duty. Those members are online. They protect the city while all the initial on-duty members are fighting the fire. And then sometimes they actually go to the fire scene to assist with that as well. There's been 9 of those so far this year. One of them, the last one, was the fatal house fire on 12 Foot. Anytime we have a situation like that where we have a fatality, the process takes longer. Everything from extinguishment to overhaul to the investigation into the cause takes significantly longer. That fire was over $9,000 in overtime. That was a driving force behind the need to request a budget transfer. Had that been a routine greater alarm fire, if you will, and only cost roughly $3,000, there'd still be roughly $7,000 in that budget line, and I would not be here tonight.
All right. Any questions for the chief? Chief, thank you very much for the explanation. Please call the roll.
Counselor Kent,
Yes.
Counselor Overstreet Wilson,
Yes.
Counselor Cuddy,
Yes.
Mayor Genatino.
Aye. Council Resolution Number 19 of 2025, supporting a grant application from Cuyahoga County to the County Infrastructure Grant Program. Do we have a sponsor? Counselor Cuddy, seconded by Counselor Kent.
Grant Resolution 19 of 2025. Whereas on November 22nd, 2024, New York State announced the Empire State Development County Infrastructure Grant Program, which includes $50 million for county-led infrastructure projects across the state with enhanced awards for projects supporting the creation of housing. And whereas Cuyahoga County is eligible to apply for this funding through Empire State Development, and the grant guidelines allow counties to re-grant their awards to the municipality where the project is located. And whereas Cuyahoga County intends to submit an application to the County Infrastructure Grant Program for $1 million in infrastructure costs toward a total estimated project cost of $23,180,000 in order to ready a City of Auburn-owned site at 213 Dunny Avenue rear to be assessed through Manor House Drive for Bluefield Point, a proposed 70-unit market rate housing development. And whereas the grant requires a 50% match in cash funds for the projects that directly support 10 or more housing units, and a non-refundable application fee of $250, both of which will be provided by the developer. And whereas Cuyahoga County intends to re-grant the award to the City of Auburn for the implementation and administration of the project. And now therefore be it resolved by the City Council that the city agrees to receive the re-granted award of County Infrastructure Grant Program funds from Cuyahoga County. And 2, upon award notification, the mayor is authorized to execute the grant assistance contract, submit project documentation, and otherwise act on all matters related to the project and state assistance. 3, city controller is authorized to receive and appropriate grant funding revenue into the appropriate city revenue and expense accounts. And the resolution tonight will take effect immediately.
Very good. With us this evening is Ms. Haynes. She's prepared to give some additional background information.
Thank you, Mayor and members of council. Thank you for considering this resolution tonight. This 70-unit market rate project has been one that has been in discussions for a couple of years with the developer, who is Park Grove Realty. The city manager and I met with Park Grove soon after meeting them. They're the developer for the Cancer Center, which was recently opened. And as we learned about them, we learned that they develop all sorts of different kinds of housing, including new construction market rate housing, adaptive reuse, and all different types of housing. As we have tried to find a site for this project and the best way to move a project forward, because they are interested in the Auburn market, last July we had applied for the Pro Housing Communities Program. The city of Auburn is a pro housing community. We submitted an application for this project through that funding source, and the project was not funded. At the time, we were contemplating a site at 52 Metcalf Drive, which is currently owned by the school district. As we continue to try to work through this process, Cuyahoga County is a member, has a couple of people that attend our Micron Housing Committee meetings. And when this grant funding source was announced, we started talking about this project again. And so as we continue to talk about it, we again talked to the school district. They have determined that they were not going to sell that particular parcel, so then we started looking at some city-owned parcels. This one at 213 Dunning Avenue rear, there is an access point on Dunning Ave, but as you can see on here, there is Crane Brook up here in this area. So that section of the site would be very difficult to develop. So as the developer was looking at this, the best access point into the parcel is through Manor House Drive. And so that is the concept that you see. Bluefield Manor is on the left. I sent this concept plan to the executive director of Bluefield Manor, and she was talking to her board about this in their board meeting this week, so they are aware. This resolution would support the county's application, and again, if it is successful and the county regrants that to the city, accepting those funds. This project was presented to the county planning committee last week by the county planning director. She gave an overview of the project, which I'll do in just a minute. And the planning committee referred the resolution to the full legislature, who is meeting next week, next Thursday, where the county planning director and Park Grove will do a joint presentation to the full legislature, and then in hopes of them approving applying for this funding. So just a quick rundown of the project itself. This is 70 townhome style apartments. So as you can see, there will be 7 different buildings, 10 units each. Clubhouse with great room, exercise room, pet spa and pool, dog park and pickleball court that will be available to the residents that live there. Project cost is estimated at $23 million. Median income for folks targeted to live here will be approximately $100,000. These developers have developed similar projects in Henrietta and Ithaca. They're seeing medical professionals, teachers, that kind of demographic living in these apartments. The rents, there are 1, 2, and 3 bedroom apartments proposed here. This is the proposed unit mix. It might look a little bit different. 21 one-bedroom apartments, 35 two-bedroom apartments, 14 three-bedroom apartments. For 1 bedroom, rent $1,700, 2 bedrooms $2,100, 3 bedrooms $2,400. So we're excited about this. We have been working with this developer for a while to try to find the right place, right time, right funding source for this. If these funds are awarded to the county, then we would start the development process, which would include land acquisition, so a negotiation with the city related to a portion of this parcel. It would also require approvals from the Zoning Board of Appeals and the Planning Board. Both of those boards have public notification requirements for folks that touch the parcel on any side. So those notifications would be sent at that time. So looking for any questions and hoping for your support of this resolution so that we can provide that to the county to include with their grant application.
Any questions for Ms. Haynes? Councilor Cuddy?
I just wanted to make more of a comment that this is exciting. Market rate housing is needed, and I think that we, you know, this is an opportunity. I remember when, you know, there was discussion about the corner of South and Metcalf, and to me this actually seems a lot more appropriate. So I'm looking forward to putting my support behind this, and I hope that, you know, this comes to fruition.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Councilor
Yeah, I
Street
have
Wilson?
a comment as well. I work outside of the city, so what we're doing here, and I look forward to supporting this. There are 5 other counties that are doing the same thing, so I'm glad that Auburn is, and Cuba County are looking at, specifically Auburn, are looking at developing market rate housing, because I fear that we would be behind, and that counties around us would be years ahead, but we seem to be in the same timeline as those, and those counties and cities are very excited as well.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'm excited about this as well. I know the developer is a good partner. They did a great job with the Cancer Center. They were very accessible and communicative to everybody during that process. You know, as I mentioned last week, yourself, the city manager, and I were at Nucor, and one of the things they said to us was, you know, the average salary of a first-year employee at Nucor is $88,000 a year, and all those young people are moving out in the suburbs or to Onondaga County because they can't find this type of housing in Auburn. This will allow us to capture those people and their salaries in this community. There is a huge need for market rate housing. You know, the other plus to this, and the thing that we're often criticized for, is there's no investment on the west end of town. This will be the first new instance of market rate housing in the city in a very long time, and it will be on the west end of town. So it's a win-win for everybody. And you covered this very well, but I want to reiterate, this is the first step. Nothing's being decided tonight. We're just applying for funding. That's part of the process. It will be a very public process, and those property owners that are affected will be welcome to come in and give their input. And I also want to acknowledge the county, our counterparts there, for considering this. This was the only way for us to do this. The counties had to be the ones that applied. It's a big county, so we appreciate them, you know, giving this serious consideration, and I think it's a good example of us partnering and working together. So I'm excited about this, and I'm happy to vote yes for it.
Thank you, Mayor.
Please call the roll.
Councilor Kent,
Yes.
Councilor Overstreet Wilson,
Yes.
Councilor Cuddy,
Yes.
Mayor Genatino.
Aye.
Carried.
Council Resolution number 20 of 2025, authorizing the use of Miles Park, Lepic Park for a community garden. Do we have a sponsor? Councilor Overstreet Wilson, seconded by Councilor Kent.
Council Resolution 20, whereas the City of Auburn supports community garden principles and improving quality of life by providing local food security, educational opportunities, and regenerating our public lands into collaborative spaces, benefiting the neighborhood. And whereas community gardens encourage physical activity, access to outdoor space, and increased knowledge of the environment and food sources. And whereas there is a proposal to expand and maintain the existing community garden to approximately 2,000 square feet, surrounded by a fence including 10 additional 4x8 raised beds in city-owned Miles and Lepic Park. Now therefore be it resolved by the City Council that the allowed use of portion of Miles and Lepic Park for community garden purpose, along with access for ingress and egress, is hereby authorized and approved. And be it further resolved, the term of the approval will run from February 1st, 2025 through January 31st, 2026.
Thank you. Any questions or discussion? I know that when this project originally came to us, there was a request to use a large section of the park, and we talked it through and compromised, and we decided to use a smaller section to see how it went. And as far as I know, it's been very successful. So thank you for your efforts. I know Mr. Talbot's on board with this. That was important for me. So, you know, thank you for the efforts, and keep up the good work. Please call the roll.
Councilor Kent,
Yes.
Councilor Overstreet Wilson,
Yes.
Councilor Cuddy,
Yes.
Mayor Genatino.
Aye.
Carried.
Grant acceptance resolution number 21 of 2025, acceptance of a New York State DCJS grant funding from the statewide targeted reductions in intimate partner violence or STRIVE initiative. Do we have a sponsor? Councilor Overstreet Wilson, second by Councilor Cuddy.
Grant acceptance resolution 21, whereas New York State Division of Criminal Justice established a program entitled the Statewide Targeted Reductions in Intimate Partner Violence Initiative with the purpose of providing state funding to local law enforcement agencies, district attorneys, and partner agencies with the goal to reduce intimate partner violence in the community. And whereas Cuyahoga County was listed as a STRIVE community and will initiate a coordinated community response for high-risk domestic violence cases and intends to implement the domestic violence high-risk team, a task force consisting of the Auburn Police Department, Cuyahoga County District Attorney's Office, Cuyahoga Action Programs, and other Cuyahoga County agencies to address the community issue. And whereas under the STRIVE initiative, the Auburn Police Department is eligible for approximately $300,000 in grant funding to cover personnel, fringe, overtime, and travel and training costs associated with implementing the STRIVE initiative, with no local match required over the one-year grant period starting April 1st, 2025. Whereas the City of Auburn would need to accept the grant funding and execute all necessary documents in connection therewith prior to commencing the STRIVE initiative. And now therefore be it resolved by the City Council that the council hereby accepts grant funding from the New York State Department of Criminal Justice STRIVE initiative in an approximate amount of $300,000 to cover the program-related expenses for the Auburn Police Department for a period of 1 year, beginning April 1st, 2025. Be it further resolved, the Comptroller is authorized to recognize STRIVE grant revenue into the revenue account A99359 STRIVE and to appropriate the funds into the Police Department expense accounts as noted below, account A3120110 STRIVE, account A3120150 STRIVE, account A3120460 STRIVE, and account A3120800 STRIVE. And be it further resolved that the mayor is authorized to execute the grant agreement and all other documents necessary for the acceptance of the funding and otherwise act on all matters related to the STRIVE initiative.
Chief Androsco, you gave a pretty good overview last week of the program. Is there anything else you wanted to add this week?
We've continued to have meetings amongst other agencies and whatnot. We're obviously hoping to get you guys' support in regards to this. I think it's going to be vital for the community. Obviously, there's a need. The state actually reached out to us. We didn't reach out to them, so the state thought there was a need too for us to see this and go forward with it. So,
Very good. Any questions for the chief?
I do. Our task force, chief, that you're gonna put together, will that be our police officers, will they have to apply to be a part of the task force, or will you be appointed?
so there's going to be similar to GIVE. At the moment, we do put out letters of interest to people with GIVE. We'll do similar with STRIVE. However, most of the bulk of that is probably going to be coming out of our detective bureau. And they will be handling most of those cases because they work hand in hand with the DA's office and their DV ADAs in there. So usually the level of case reaches a felony level at that point. And so our detectives usually handle our felony cases. But if we do the team, we will probably be asking some of the patrol officers and ask for letters of interest of people interested and have them jump aboard too.
That'd be good. Great, thank you.
Yep.
Chief, thank you for taking this on. You know, we get emailed the calls for service every morning, and it's alarming to me, the number of domestic violence calls in this community. This is very much needed, and I appreciate you and the agencies that you're going to partner with taking this on. Please call the roll.
Counselor Kent,
Yes.
Counselor Overstreet Wilson,
Yes.
Counselor Cuddy,
Yes.
Mayor Genatino.
Aye.
Carried.
Council Resolution Number 22 of 2025, authorizing a memorandum of understanding with STRIVE partner agencies in Cuyahoga County. Do we have a sponsor? Counselor Kent, second by Counselor Cuddy.
Council Resolution 22, whereas New York State Division of Criminal Justice Services has implemented a statewide targeted reduction in intimate partner violence STRIVE, also known as STRIVE Initiative, designed to equip the Auburn Police Department and partnering agencies with the tools and training needed to reduce intimate partner violence with the city and Cuyahoga County, within the city and Cuyahoga County. And whereas the STRIVE Initiative calls for a coordinated community response managed by an executive board consisting of the chief of police, the district attorney, and the executive director from Cuyahoga Action Program, who will oversee the initiative. And whereas the STRIVE Executive Board is recommending using the local domestic violence high-risk team that includes additional partnerships with the Cuyahoga County Sheriff's Office, Cuyahoga County Probation Office, and other related service providers to leverage additional agency resources within the community to address domestic violence. And whereas a memorandum of understanding is needed between the aforementioned STRIVE Initiative partner agencies and to be provided to the New York State Division of Criminal Justice as part of the grant program. Whereas the City of Auburn Police Department is in support of this process and wishes to participate in this memorandum of understanding, now therefore be it resolved by the City Council of the City of Auburn that the Chief of Police is authorized to participate and execute the DVHRT Memorandum of Understanding for the purpose of implementing the STRIVE Initiative.
Very good. Any questions? Please call the roll.
Counselor Kent,
Yes.
Counselor Overstreet Wilson,
Yes.
Counselor Cuddy,
Yes.
Mayor Genatino.
Aye.
Carried.
Council Resolution Number 23 of 2025, authorizing settlement of a claim with the Auburn Enlarged City School District. Do we have a sponsor? Counselor Cuddy, second by Counselor Kent.
Council Resolution 23, whereas the Auburn Enlarged City School District suffered damage to its property due to certain factors which were within the control of the City of Auburn and filed a timely notice of claim. And whereas city and district staff met to discuss the claim and competent evidence of causation and damages were presented to the city. And whereas after such meetings, the city and the district have agreed that a settlement as outlined in the attached proposed agreement and release would be in the best interest of all parties and would avoid any litigation expense. And whereas the Auburn Enlarged City School District Board of Education has already approved the proposed settlement, and whereas the cost of the proposed settlement would be charged to account number A1930453 for $22,115.83. Now therefore be it resolved by the Auburn City Council, does hereby authorize the Corporation Council to execute the attached agreement and release wherein the school district shall be reimbursed for funds expended on the remedy of the damage.
Mr. Garland, do you have anything else you'd like to add?
Nothing of substance, Mayor, other than the business manager and the facilities manager at the school district presented a pretty good case to the city that we should reimburse them directly, and the city staff that handles sewer and water have signed off on this as well.
Okay, very good. Any questions, discussion? Please call the roll.
Counselor Kent,
Yes.
Counselor Overstreet Wilson,
Yes?
Counselor Cuddy,
Yes.
Mayor Genatino.
Aye.
Carried.
Other business from the council? Counselor Kent.
I believe we have a guest here that prepared the short slides for the garden. I just wanted to make sure, since she prepared that, we could see it.
Oh, can we put them up?
Sure.
Yeah, it's on our agenda.
Okay.
So are you prepared to present? Oh, I thought it was for us to look at. That's why yeah. Oh, you are? Throw it up there. Yeah, it's just a few. It's just a few.
Sure.
Either side. Well, actually, this one, there's a working microphone.
Computer?
Actually,
Remind us of the good weapon.
Okay. Good evening, Mayor and Council. Are you able to hear me?
Yes.
Okay. As you can see, this sort of is the West Side Community Garden that we put in last growing season. Thank you. And so we started with the 10 beds that were approved. Volunteers all really worked together to make this happen. We had funding from the Cuba Community Fund and Auburn Beautification Commission. So we were able to purchase the supplies that we needed, and we had other things donated. So it was able to materialize really nicely. And all of the beds eventually ended up being utilized and planted in, and volunteers kind of made the fences and the pathways and everything come together for people to use. People grew things, and there was a watering system that was developed so that it was collaborative. People didn't have to water every day. They just kind of watered on a schedule, which was great. And people shared things they grew and recipes. And we would like to expand because there has been continued interest and developing interest. And we are asking to build 10 additional beds and keep what we have going. So that's really all I have.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Mr. Mason.
Did she lose anybody's vote?
Anybody want to? No.
Everybody's still in favor?
I think we're still in favor.
Anything else? Mr. Duggar, do you have a request for executive session?
Yes, Mayor, I have 3 items. One's related to the sale of real property. One's made confidential under attorney-client privilege, and then one matter related to the employment status of a particular individual.
Very good. Any other requests from council? Councilor Cuddy?
Yes, one other one for sale or lease of a property as well.
I have one for attorney-client privilege, just under discussing one of the things that I had brought up prior about our future planning for the city.
Do we have a sponsor for executive session? Do we have a sponsor for executive session? Councilor Kent, second by Councilor Overstreet Wilson. Please call the roll.
Counselor Kent?
Yes.
Counselor Overstreet Wilson?
Yes.
Counselor Cuddy?
Yes.
Mayor Gentine?
Aye. We'll be in recess for executive session.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Reminded me of what's to come.
Yes, coming, it will.